Hello, everyone. Well, welcome to the beautiful day outside. I have been thinking about you guys all a lot, and I just want to talk for a second about some of the stuff I've been noticing this week that I thought was maybe important to share with you guys. I want to talk about today, finding safety in the storm has been something I've been thinking a lot about. I do life coaching, and I think sometimes, so many of us when we're on our healing journeys, whether you work with a therapist or a coach, or whether you do yoga or meditation or Reiki or whatever it is, I believe in all the forms of healing, and we all have our different path for finding that, for finding what nourishes us and what keeps us safe and helps us to find our own power again. And one of the things that I've noticed in all my years of doing this, and especially lately, that has just been really important for me, is this idea that we never really arrive. There is no such thing as there, right? All we have is this present moment that we live in. And I think sometimes we're so tempted to believe, if we can just figure out the job or the relationship or the money or the kids or whatever, if we can just get our life to be just this perfect way, then everything will be okay. Then we'll be happy. Then we'll be complete, fulfilled. We will have arrived. And what I've found, my life has just constantly blows me away. And I'm always so amazed at what we're able to create in our lives. And yet what I have found to be true over and over again is that there is no such thing as there. Some of the times I've felt the most, I think sometimes about what is enough, and times that I have felt the most at peace and the most just okay in the world have been times, when I had $20 in my bank account and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on my table, and I was like, okay, I'm good, this is enough. I have enough. I'm safe. And then there's times when I have, $20,000 in my bank account and a house to live in, and, everything, a good job, and everything's seems like it's quote unquote going right, and I can be in total scarcity and anxiety and feeling like it's not enough and I'm not okay, and for sure I'm going to lose it all tomorrow. And it's just so interesting to think about, and what I have realized is learning what enough really is and where that comes from is powerful. But the other thing is this idea of finding safety in the storm. And I teach these coaching tools because they've changed my life so much. But one of the things I've noticed is that I don't teach this stuff so that we don't have to go through hard things. And, I think sometimes that can be this misconception of my friend Simone calls it feel-good fascism, right? Where it's like we just have to fix everything on our life so that we never have to feel shitty again. And I do teach people how to feel better, learning how to feel better and not feel so shitty all the time. But it's not about eradicating our humanity. We have human brains that love to tell us all the things about ourselves, how we're not good enough, how we're not worthy, how we're not safe, how we're for sure going to lose it all, and nothing's going to be okay. And we always have to live in this state of anxiety and fear. And what I've really been so just appreciative of this past week especially is my brain has been attacking me in the meanest ways. And it's so interesting. It's like I have all these coaching tools, I've done all the therapy, all the work, all the healing stuff, and yet I'm still human. And yet I still feel discouraged sometimes. I feel, my brain can tell me all the ways I've been going through as Mother's Day is arriving. I have been going through old photos and putting together this Mother's Day gift for my mom. And it's just brought up, it was so interesting as I'm going through it. It's like, sure enough, my brain was like, here's a great opportunity to just lambast Robin with all this stuff, right? Thinking of all the ways that I've failed my mom, all the years that I was so angry at her, that I was just disconnected, all the way, all the times that I was a shitty human. And then once it starts going down that railroad track, it's like, oh yeah, you know what else? Here's all the ways you failed your sister and your friends and yourself and relationships. And it can just be so cruel, and it's like I'm this it's like I sometimes can judge myself, be like, why is this happening? I know all the ways to not have to feel these things. And then I realize oh yeah, it's not about not having to feel these things. Our brain is always going to offer us all these kinds of thoughts. It's part of having a human brain. unfortunately, it thinks that's how it's keeping us safe, is to keep us in fear and shame and scarcity, and it keeps us small and in the cave and not taking risks, and it's always looking for what's wrong, because that's how for sure we spot the danger before it shows up. It's just so interesting. But what I've noticed is what the reason that these tools have changed my life so much is it's not that it protects me from never having to feel a negative emotion or never having to feel any. The world still happens, the rain still comes and all the hurricanes that seem to swirl around in our lives sometimes. Life still happens to all of us, but it doesn't shatter me the way it used to. And it doesn't what it feels like to me is like, I'm getting ready to teach this class on Sunday. If you guys want to come, you're welcome to. So funny, I teach this tool and yet I use it every day, probably 20 times a day. It's literally my lifeboat, my safety in the storm, if you will. And when it feels like this hurricane is just happening around me and everyone's trying to tell you all the ways that you're not good enough and all the ways that you failed, and your brain is bringing up all this old shit that it's trying to beat you up with, and it's like my brain can just feel like it's like, okay, yep, here it comes, here comes the shame, here comes the discouragement, here comes the failure. So it all still comes, but what I've noticed is it's sort of like this hurricane happening, and it's like I have this calm in the sense of this storm, right? It's like I'm standing in the middle of it, and that's like my power, and I can just breathe and feel all these things, and as I'm breathing, and I'm like, yep, here it is, here's life, here's humanity, and in the middle of that, I know who I am, it's like I have this sense of truth, this deeper truth, and about who I am, and it's like kind of reminds me of the Matrix, right? Where all the bullets are coming at him, and once he learns where his power is, it's like all of a sudden everything just slows down, and as the bullet's coming, right, that iconic scene where he just reaches up and like grabs the bullet and goes clink. It's like, I'll just put that over there. And that's just sort of like this superpower that I feel like all these tools, these coaching tools that I have learned, it's like what it feels like it's given me. That's like the gift, right? Is like all this stuff is happening and I can just slow everything down and notice like that's just a thought in my head. Doesn't even mean it's true. I'm not a failure, right? Or all the things that the world wants to tell you about yourself. Like, you don't have to believe every thought that comes in your head. You don't have to believe every thought that the world tells you. And I think that's the power of this is to be able to slow down, and as things are happening, to like have that calm place inside you. I go through all these emotions with such a sense of like calm. Sometimes I lose it, but then I'm like, oh yeah, breathe, and I can come back to it, and it gives me this lifeboat, this grounding to just, and as even right now as I'm sitting outside, I feel such a sense of calm, this confidence in myself, this trust, and of knowing what's really true, and of knowing how to deal with life when it comes at you in a way that's so much smoother. And I don't have to let it into my heart, it doesn't have to take over my life and become the thing that's in the driver's seat. It's just kind of like a passing cloud, and then it moves on. And I think that's a really powerful way to go through this human life, when things come up, to have such a stronger center of what's really true, of who you really are, and to be able to kind of bring yourself back to that place of power. And like I said, that kind of feels like my safety in the storm. I can go to this place where nothing can touch me, and it can all just be there, but it's not who I am, and I don't live there, I don't stay there, I just move through it so much smoother. So I just wanted to say that, because I talk a lot about learning how to feel better and learning how to process and release difficult emotions, and we're getting ready to do this event on Sunday. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, that it's not about not being human, it's just about going through that humanity with a safe place where you don't have to lose your power in it, and it doesn't have to have power over you. So anyway, I love you guys. If you want to join us on Sunday, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I'm always here any other time you need me. All right, talk later. Bye.